Joining me on the line, what's funny about this is I looked it up, and it's almost to a year of when we first talked about this on the air. Ladies and gentlemen, from We're Iowa Local 5, Stephanie Angleson joining me right now. Hey, Stephanie.
Hey, how are you?
Like I said, it was March 12th, 2020, when you came on the air to talk about COVID.
Yep, and interestingly enough, I was just thinking about that myself because I believe when we were talking, it was because of the basketball tournaments that we started to see the initial fallout there. And we were just speculating where we may go from there, and I don't think any of us saw what happened coming.
What I remember from that is, and just a little, behind-the-scenes radio stuff, we recorded that interview like in the middle of the day. By the time it was to air, I had to re-edit it because it was already out of date. That's how crazy it got and how fast it all happened with the COVID stuff.
Yeah, the dominoes fell very quickly. We knew it was serious. You know, when college sports start to say, no, we can't have people come and watch and we can't hold this tournament, that's when you know it's really serious. I mean, that was a huge money decision right there. And it was unfathomable to us at that point. Well, now in hindsight, we look back and see what else has happened. And it was just par for the course that we didn't even know was ahead. So it has been a really interesting year.
Stephanie, the reason we have you on this week, and it's not just because we don't like having you on, because we do. You're a lot of fun. But Local 5, you guys are doing a special all this week. Explain what's going on as you guys kind of look back at the year that was COVID.
Yeah, well, we didn't want the year, I hate to use the word anniversary, but I'm going to. We didn't want the year anniversary to just pass, and we didn't mark it. We all have COVID fatigue, and I think a lot of us would just like it to fade away, but it hasn't. And a year is something that we thought deserved to be looked back upon, to speculate and discuss what we have accomplished and what we, go over what we do know, and then maybe even celebrate some of those wins that we did have. So what we're doing this week is we are spending a day on a different theme every day at 6:00. We're focusing on a different aspect of COVID. For instance, education, the impact this had on teachers, on parents, on kids. We're going into just what the transition was like, what we've learned from this, what maybe this will teach us in the future about education, things like that. We're talking about healthcare workers on another night and just how they had to navigate this terrible situation that we had hoped would only be a couple weeks. Turns out a year later, they're still in it. Long-term care facilities. We saw a lot of interesting stories coming out of that about how it was handled in long-term care facilities, what residents went through, what employees went through there. And then troubles inside meatpacking plants. That one is pretty specific, but there was a lot of content that we had coming out of that. And of course, now they're vaccinating workers inside meatpacking plants. So there were some interesting stories that have developed out of that as well. And then we couldn't do this without talking about the impact this has had on businesses, whether it's people working from home or small businesses having to close their doors and then figure out what to do in those times where they couldn't be open. So we're taking a look at just not only the numbers and the impact, but the human stories behind it, and trying to do the best job that we can in putting some context into this whole year as we pivot now and look towards where do we go? How do we get out of this pandemic now? How do we move on with vaccinations and hopefully get to the point where we can get back to whatever normal is going to be? It's a lot to cover.
It is, but you think about it, and at what point has there been a story that has encompassed everybody? Now, everybody doesn't have the same view of it, granted. Like, some people don't think it's a big deal, some people think it's a big deal, and so on and so forth. But, I mean, it has affected everyone on some level.
Exactly. I mean, I think back to the financial crisis in 2008, and that came close, not on a scale like this where we're talking about deaths and shutting down, mandating businesses that are healthy shut down, things like that. So really never in my lifetime, and I've had the great opportunity to talk to some people who have been around for some really bad things in their lives, and even this was it was shocking, unprecedented. Felt like we were just in completely new territory, which we were, and with the fact that it impacted every aspect of our lives, regardless of if you were affected, if you were ill or not, it still impacted you. So it's been a year. I think everybody would say that. It's been a year. I'm feeling a little optimistic that maybe we're turning the corner here. Of course, not a public health employee, but I do feel like something is turning, and looking back on where we've been, how far we've come, might be refreshing. And we're trying to also, put some happier stories in there, because there are a lot of great things that happened during the pandemic. I mean, the way people lived lives and tried to lift each other up was really, really inspiring. So we do have some of those great stories in there too. We don't want this to all be doom and gloom, because frankly, we've just had enough of that.
Well, that's the thing about it. You can't, it's hard to talk about this subject without people getting riled up one way or the other.
It is. Even in my own household, we all have different opinions, and it's affecting us differently, and how we cope with things has come to the surface. It's really forced us to take a deep look at a lot of things, and it's uncomfortable and it's not fun, and this has been hard. It's been hard on anybody. So anybody who's feeling fatigued right now, I'd say, yeah, you're doing it right. This was hard. Well, this has been very hard.
I mean, there, like you said, there's so many differing opinions on this. Like my friends and I were talking this weekend, because it was the year anniversary of the last time I've sat in a restaurant to have a meal. Mm-hmm. Where I'm on that end of the spectrum. One of my other buddies, he's like, we never changed. We never stopped going. Then you got another guy that's like, oh, well, we did it this way, and this. It's just so crazy. It really has spiderwebbed into everything we do and everything we are now.
It has, and it's the unfortunate side of it is I think that the anxiety or the frustration that this has caused in ourselves can sometimes bubble up into judgment, and we may be aggressive with people in a way we wouldn't have been before, and just pointing fingers and shaming and back and forth, and we need to get to a point where we can all collectively take a breath, I think, and decompress. I don't know when that's coming. I hope it's soon. But it has been interesting. And I think just the way we deal with crisis in general as individuals has kind of shaped our experience throughout all of this.
Stephanie, are you talking about all the experts on social media?
Yeah, the Facebook doctors. Yes, they've been very helpful.
Oh my God.
I know. And that's the other aspect here is we have social media in play, which we know can be a great thing. It can be awesome. It can be a great way to connect with people and to stay connected and to actually get some genuine information, but it's also a breeding ground for misinformation and disinformation and malinformation, because now we have to label all the wrong things with different names depending on the motivation behind them. So, that's been another layer of it. We've been working really hard to cut through the information out there that maybe isn't verified by fact and science, and just so that people, I hope we don't come across as preaching. We're not trying to tell you what to do. We're just hoping that you get the best information possible so you can make the decision that's right for yourself. Honestly, I'm not going to tell anybody what to do or how to do it. It's just not my lane.
Yeah.
But I hope that when we give you information, you trust that we've spent a lot of time verifying it and fact checking it, and hope that it helps you make the right decision for you guys.
You sounded like a politician there. We don't want to make anybody mad here.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not trying to ruffle any feathers. It's just like, this is what's true. This is what's not. No,
I get it. It's just, it really is. I mean, of one of the big things over the last year has been just, it's like, wow, there are a lot of experts outside of the medical field that I should be listening to, apparently.
Absolutely. A lot of experts on a lot of things. And, I think that the fact that we were in an election year, which is never pleasant. Election years are tough. They're tough, and this one was tough. And so we've had it feels like we're in a pressure cooker right now. We've just had a lot happening. It was hard, and let's take the lid off and enjoy summer, and hopefully we can, start to transition back to normal. We're starting to hear glimmers of that. So hopefully we're getting to a point where we can get baby steps back into whatever is going to be normal, because we don't know that yet either.
Stephanie Angleson from We Are Iowa Local 5 joining me right now. All right, as we wrap up, okay, so as it is Monday, what's coming up tonight, and then how does the week play out? How do these stories work at 6 o'clock every night?
Yeah, so each 6 o'clock show is going to be a different theme. Tonight, I believe it's education upended. We started last night, actually, Sunday night, with just an overview, kind of a timeline. How did we get here? When it first kicked off in Iowa, what happened? How did we handle it? And if you miss any of these episodes, I do want to remind you that you can always get them on weareiowa.com or our We Are Iowa app, because we know people just are too busy. A lot of people aren't sitting down and watching the news. So we do have it there. It's available for you to go back and watch. And again, because we're hitting on subjects that have been really heavy and maybe we're tired of it, we understand if you don't want to watch it in one long segment. It's good to take mental health breaks and walk away and go outside. So, yes, it's always there for you. But, yeah, tonight we'll do education and all the impacts there. Then we're moving on to healthcare workers, followed by long-term care facilities, meatpacking plants, and then our final day will be impact on businesses. Yeah, so our team, I work with some great journalists. They're dedicated to fact-finding and they're very excited about the work they've done on this. So I hope it'll bring some context and a little bit of just some reflection for everybody right now.
Perfect. All right, Stephanie Angleson from We Are Iowa Local 5 joining me. Thank you so much, Stephanie, and good work.
My
and I'm
pleasure.
glad that you're back on the show after only a year.
Yeah, they let me out of my house, which was really exciting. So I felt a little bit normal. I can't wait till I can talk to you at the studios again. That'll be a day to celebrate.
I know. We can talk about quilting.
You know how I like to quilt. It's been a good year for it.
There you